Oh shoot, I don't have my thing up. Dang darn it. Well, we're on chapter 17. Chapter 17 of Genesis. Chapter 17 represents an 8. 8 represents a control number. And this is talking about there's a covenant that's going to be bringing to life here, that this is about it's about circumcision. You know, it's this where this is the part, whereas, you know, because this whole story so far, when we're told that God speaks to him to tell him to get up and leave his family, his father's house. Actually, from this particular point on, he has been in the valley. He's been in this midst. He's been in this middle place here, just on this side of 7. Just on this side of the day of the Lord. So what do we get out of this one here? This chapter 17. Chapter 17 represents 8. Now, I know on the last chapter that his left side of his mind, he got to copulate with one of the slave girls and bring about Ishmael. Well, Ishmael, we wind up seeing on this, and we don't have to go through all of these here, but Ishmael gets remembered by God, he gets to make the 12th princess. All right, the princess. So that's the 12th. There's going to be your another set of the zodiac. All right, and we had gotten a little inkling to this a little earlier when they used the word Melchizedek, because that's the sky. That's about this. It's basically space, the heavens. And so what we get from this particular one is that Abraham, we find out that he's 90 years old. Okay, that's an awful long time. And he's popping out children, you know. His wife is 90 years old, and she gets a child. Okay, so in this particular chapter right here, we find that God and both Abraham and his wife get the H's put in their names. This is because Abram, when it's just Abram, let's see what that's supposed to mean all by itself. Abram, A-B-R-U-M versus Abraham. All right? If you already even hear A-B-R-A, Abram means exalted father. Abram. We're going to have to go a little bit further than that. So when I go to this intimate, to find out just what this actually means. And it's usually going to be something about one who gains. And standing blameless with great joy, deemed happy. Abraham's the son of promise. That's Abraham. I'm looking for just Abram. All right. Well, Abraham. Well, see, it's giving me the wrong. It's taking me the wrong way. Here it is. The father of elevation, the exalted father. All right. So this is what he means. But when it comes down to Abraham, we get Zoroaster is Abraham denotes it. It's the man of increase. So we don't get any change out of the name for Abram and Abraham other than just bringing the H. H, we know the H winds up being along the lines of the aspiration. The H is the breath of God. And so when you get the breath of God in you, this is what God did. He breathed into the nostrils of Adam, bringing some life into this thing. So with Sarai, that's a cantankerous name. Sarah, she now becomes like a princess, something beautiful, something charming. So they match better. Okay. Now, let's see if we can go back here real quick. Do Genesis. And so, all right, so let's keep going along. He says, I'm going to establish my covenant with thee, and I want it to be with her baby. All right, it's going to be with Isaac. And he tells him that your wife's going to give you another child. And he laughs. He says, Can you believe, is someone really 90-year-old? Is this possible? Is this possible? And he says, yes, I will bless her, and she will be the mother of nations, and kings shall be upon her. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed with his heart. Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah at 90 years old bear a child? All right, this is 12, 16. It'll be 17. 17 is where Abraham fell on his face and asked the questions. 18 would be the second part. The second, and Abraham said unto God, as Ishmael might live before thee. He says, and God told Sarah's wife to bear thee a son indeed, and that to call him name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with the seed inside of him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him. I will make him fruitful, and he will multiply, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begat, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, and Sarah shall bear unto thee in this set of time, this next year's. And he left talking with God. Now Abraham and Ishmael is his son. Now this is what he has to do. Now they have to go and do the circumcision. Now the circumcision is, again, we have to know that right now, that with the name change of both Sarah and Abraham, they've made this connection with God. But the covenant that they're going to make with them is to have themselves circumcised, to have the males, all males in his household, bought or sold, or bought or made, or anything like that. They all have to be circumcised. Circumcised means that you're not connected to the lower anymore. It doesn't, I mean, on the outside, it means to chop off the end of your penis and that this little flesh thing. But to cut off your desires of the flesh is what we're hearing in the story. And that means to cut off your desire from the lower mind. And of course, when he requires this of all of his household, they're all sitting around with their penises cut. And they have to do this on their own. You have to do yourself, all right? That's the weird part about this, is that, could you imagine a bunch of men sitting around cutting their penises off, cutting off the tips of their penis with a sharp something, and then, oh my God, it's crazy. But then they make it like, oh, every child has to be like, when they're 8 days old. So 8 days is the covenant. 8 means control. That's what this is about. This is why this number on this thing becomes this 8, right? Let's go, where was it? Right? Yeah, number 7. 7 and 1 is 8. 8's about control. God wants you to chop off your penis. And those people that don't chop off their penis, if they're not a part of this, then they're going to be cut off from the rest of the crowd. So in reality, this becomes an outwardly thing that the Jewish people used to do, and what the Jewish people and Christians do to show their faith to God by having their penises whacked off. Now, there's nothing in here showing how a girl goes about this. So, anything that they do, that's their invention. It means it's their folly, because the true meaning of cutting off from the lower and maintaining with God is that you will no longer serve the lower. And right off the bat, we're probably going to have troubles, because this is when Moses comes down finds them still worshiping a bull. Oh my God, you know. He says, so you're already messing around. You're already screwing everything up. So at this particular point, we're looking for a control number. That control number is to chop off. And when that happens, the lower side, because in the real stories, in the stories of true salvation, is that when we cut ourselves from the lower mind and we go within ourselves to bring this about, with our child going up there to do this for us, that our soul is up there pulling both the mind of man and his belief system, coming up with them as to be something that's going to be judged. And we heard from the last chapter that those people that your body and your person is going to serve first is going to get judged, and that winds up being the second phase. And what we actually do is we follow a religion of some kind, and that's going to be our trespass. All right, because we'll be worshiping someone other than God. We're going to be worshiping half a God. But half a God is not a God at all. It's only just Father all by himself. So, anyways, so we get the ever the covenant between God, another covenant of cutting off from the lower, and that is the desires of the flesh. Okay, and it takes that in order to have God, because otherwise, if you're not connected to God, that's sin. And of course, to be above the sin and to be sinning no more is to be connected to God. That's the only thing it is. All right. We'll check you soon.